So just been in the area which is known as Masjid al-Buraq al-Sharif, but of course it's still part of Masjid al-Aqsa. You can't have a mosque within a mosque, so it's just another area which has been created to highlight where the Prophet actually, they say he tied his steed, Buraq, at that place. And other prophets had also tied their steed, and there were 124,000 prophets waiting within this courtyard, apparently, this precinct, waiting for the Prophet to come and lead them in prayer. Of course, that wall, which is known as Buraq Wall, is adjacent, or is the very wall which on the other side, what the Jews call the Western Wall, or others call Wailing Wall, but it's called the Buraq Wall, and it's part of the Moroccan Quarter. And just right next to it, you have the Moroccan Gate, which is blocked off. It's the only gate which is blocked. There's 15 gates, 5 have been sealed, 10 which are open, and 1 which is only available to the Jewish people, and they come through the Moroccan Gate when they want to. They make their incursions, and the other 9 gates belong to the Muslims, and they can enter through them. The Masjid al-Buraq is a small structure on the southwest corner of the al-Aqsa compound. It is believed to be the place where the Prophet Muhammad entered on his night journey through the Barclays Gate, which is considered the entry point to this mosque. It is where he tied his riding animal, which he rode during the night of Ascension. On the other side, the Jews call this wall the Wailing Wall, or the Western Wall, and it has a dual identity. Barclays Gate is the modern name of a Herodian-era gate of al-Aqsa. It is one of the original gates from the Herodian construction. The gate was first recognized by James Barclay, an American consul, in 1855. The large stone, which is its lintel, is about 21 feet long and weighs 50 tons. The gate entrance was almost 27 feet high. The lintel can be seen from inside Masjid al-Buraq and the women's area on the western wall side. Below the lintel, the gate was closed in with smaller stones in the 10th century. Above it is the ramp to the Moroccan Gate, the Gate of the Moors, or the Maghribi Gate. In Arabic, the gate is known as Bab al-Nabi, for it is considered the gate through which the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, most likely entered on his night journey towards heaven. The night journey of the Prophet, known as al-Isra, and the subsequent ascension to heaven, known as al-Mi'raj, is one of the most miraculous events of the life of the Prophet after the Holy Quran. It took place when the Prophet was facing intense hardship and pain. The Quraysh, his tribe and his family, constantly ridiculed and humiliated him. He had seen the year of sorrow after the death of his beloved wife Khadija and his uncle Abu Talib. In addition, he saw many burdens at the place of Ta'if, where he was rejected in a cruel way and pelted by stones. Having gone through so much grief and suffering, the Prophet was given a truly beautiful and comforting gift. He was transported not only to the sacred sanctuary and through the skies, but ultimately into the divine presence, the source of all comfort and hope. When the Prophet left Mecca, he was in the house of Hani. He said, "The roof of my house was open and the angel Gabriel descended." From here, the Prophet then moved to the holy sanctuary, the Kaaba. Then he moved to the place of emigration, Medina. He went to Mount Sinai, where the Torah was revealed to Moses. He then went to Bethlehem, and he also went to the place where Moses was buried. And then finally, he reached a point on the western wall where there was a crack, and Gabriel pointed toward it and asked him to tether his horse, the heavenly steed al-Buraq. And thereupon he entered and led 124,000 prophets in prayer on the al-Aqsa compound. What a sight that would have been.
schools, many schools around Masjid al-Aqsa. Very old these are, going back to the period of the Mamluk period. So Mamluk period is how many years ago? 700 years ago. So originally an Islamic school, a madrasa, are now converted into a police station. The same way for Africa.
The Western Wall prayer area is open every day of the week, 24 hours a day. It is the closest the Jews can get to what they consider the destroyed temple and the Holy of Holies. It is the last remainder of the original walls built around the platform expanded by Herod in 19 BCE. And this particular wall is known as the Kotel in Hebrew, which means simply the wall. In addition to the Western Wall Plaza where the wall is exposed, there are two other exposed segments of the Western Wall. The southern section, which is where the Herodian street is found and the rubble is found, and the small Western Wall, which is found in the Muslim quarter.
It's basically just there as to show that.
So it looks like there's some typing towards the sun, southwest,
Come to the Western Wall, a remnant of the temple.
This is where you can go. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Western Wall tunnel. You've basically got a tunnel running all the way. This end of the right.
We're at a very significant location here. We're at the Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall. Of course, the Muslims know it as the Buraq Wall, the wall where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family came and alighted from his steed and tied the walls to the wall. It's a very vast open space. It's very clean, it's very new, very modern in a way, because they've had structures built on the other side. Right opposite is the Buraq Wall, where we've just come from, or the Buraq area, and it's the western wall of the Mosque of Aqsa. So this whole wall, all the way across, belongs behind me, is the westernmost wall of the Masjid al-Aqsa. Actually, that over there, that wall behind me, just there. So that wall, which is over there, which we call the Western Wall, is the wall of the outer perimeter, the western perimeter of the Aqsa Mosque. And then also they've got other features here. They've got something called Western Wall tunnels, where they've actually built tunnels which lead all the way through towards the bottom of the Mosque of Aqsa. So where you can go underneath, and they lead all the way through underneath. They're the Western Wall tunnels. The Western Wall tunnel is an underground tunnel exposing the Western Wall from where the traditional open-air prayer site ends and up to the wall's northern end. The tunnel is adjacent to the Western Wall and is located under buildings of the old city of Jerusalem. While the open-air portion of the Western Wall is approximately 140 meters long, the majority of its original length of 488 meters is hidden underground or behind the buildings of the Muslim quarter. The tour of the Western Wall tunnels allows visitors to reach the segments of the wall hidden from view and to touch the original and special Western Wall stones that tell the story of Palestine and the Jewish people. Visitors to the Western Wall tunnels walk through ancient and fascinating subterranean spaces with exquisite archaeological findings, such as large stone arches, water pits, an ancient water aqueduct that ends at the Struthian Pool, and more. The western stone, located in the north section of Wilson's Arch, is a monolithic stone block forming part of the lower level of the Western Wall, weighing 570 tons, or 628 to some measurements, it is one of the largest building blocks in the world. It is considered to be one of the heaviest objects ever lifted by human beings without powered machines. It is the largest building stone found in Palestine and second in the world. General Sir Charles Warren was an officer in the British Royal Engineers. He was one of the earliest European archaeologists of the Holy Land, and particularly of the Temple Mount or al-Aqsa. In November 1888 he resigned as Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police after the failures of tracking the infamous Jack the Ripper. Warren's Gate is an ancient entrance onto the platform in Jerusalem, which lies about 150 feet or 46 meters into the Western Wall tunnel. In the Herodian period, the gate led to a tunnel and staircase onto the Holy House. After the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem from the Byzantines, Jews were allowed to pray inside the tunnel. The synagogue was destroyed in the First Crusade in the siege of Jerusalem in 1099. The tunnel then became a water cistern, thus its name Cistern 30. As of course for them, the temple and the loss of the temple is a very significant historical event for which they continuously mourn over, and also desire the rebuilding of the temple, which would be the third building of the temple after its destruction on the second occasion. Quite a big expansive space this. This whole area used to have something known as the Moroccan Quarter, because a lot of Moroccan, Berbers, North Africans fought in the army of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi when he fought the Crusades. And when he fought the Crusades, he basically had these individuals who were very loyal and very valiant soldiers, and he gave them this location. This whole location was given to those Moroccans, and it was known as the Moroccan Quarter. After 1967 war, when the annexation of East Jerusalem occurred and it was taken from Jordan, that Moroccan Quarter was quite swiftly demolished, and they created this vast open sort of plain for them to do their worship. Before, when the Moroccan Quarter used to be here, they considered it all slums and dirty, etc., etc. And very rich Jewish people would sometimes say that, you know, allow us to perform our worship here. And there was only a 2-meter gap. There used to be a 2-meter gap, which they used to come around the Moroccan Quarter, and then, like I said, very rich Jewish people used to sometimes pay the Moroccan, try and get them to leave, basically bribe them, give them money and say, look, would you leave so we can get rid of these buildings. And then of course with the annexation of 1967, what occurred was the complete destruction of that Moroccan Quarter. Of course it does not end fully here, because the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, is not the only part that the Jewish people want. They actually want the whole building, because that's where the Temple Mount is. There is nothing mystical or spiritual about the wall in and of itself. The Western Wall is simply a portion of the Western retaining wall built by Herod in the 1st century. He did it to flatten the top of Mount Moriah for a larger platform to be built for the temple according to the Jews, and Masjid al-Aqsa, which was already there according to the Muslims. An earthquake in the 16th century apparently uncovered more parts of the Western Wall, enabling the creation of the place of worship familiar to us today. It seems the exclusive sanctification of the Western Wall can be traced to this century, and that is when it actually became holy. In 70 CE, when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and all of the platform on top of Mount Moriah, Masjid al-Aqsa or the Temple Mount, they could not destroy the huge walls built by Herod on 4 sides, and instead they buried them. And it was this buried wall which became apparent in the 16th century, when an earthquake removed some of the rubble and the soil, and you could see the stones. In the past, the Western Wall rose to a height of 60 meters. Today, the highest point in the exposed section reaches a height of 40 meters above the bedrock of Mount Moriah. The section of the Western Wall that is visible at the Prayer Plaza is comprised of 46 layers of stone. 29 of these layers are exposed above ground and contain stones from different time periods. The remaining 17 layers are subterranean. This above ground section reaches a height of 19 meters. However, the height of this section from its foundation to its peak is estimated at approximately 32 meters.
This is the Western Wall, so it's a very unique feature, a landmark actually, and the stones do look very big, and they look very old also. A huge area, and as you can see, a stark contrast when you look on one side, you've got the Muslim side, and then you've got obviously right across you've got this, which is the Jewish side.
In the 19th century, Charles Wilson discovered what is known as Wilson's Arch. It is a modern name for the ancient stone arch whose top is still visible today, where it is supported against the northeast corner of the Western Wall so that it appears on the left to visitors facing the wall. It once spanned 42 feet, supporting a road that continued for 75 feet and allowed access to a gate that was level with the surface of the Holy Prayer Mount during the second period of the temple according to the Jews. The date of its original construction is disputed, as some scholars date it to before the destruction of Herod's temple in 70 CE, while others place it much later to the Arab Umayyad period between 651 and 750. Along with Robinson's Arch, it is one of the largest freestanding masonry arches in the world during the time it was constructed and utilized. Today it serves as the indoor covered men's section of the prayer plaza at the Western Wall. It lies directly below the Bab al-Silsila, or the Gate of Chain. You could freely walk into here and observe the Jewish people praying and see the old stones and the ancient parts of the Western Wall. Have you ever wondered why Jews rock when they pray? According to the mystical text Zohar, a person's soul emanates from divine light. Every time a Jew engages with the Torah, the light of his or her soul ignites, which is why he or she moves like the flame of a candle. The rationale behind placing prayer notes in the wall has been traced to the Midrashic teaching that the divine presence has never moved from the Western Wall, and the Kabbalistic teaching that all prayers ascend to heaven through the Temple Mount, which the Western Wall abuts. Robinson's Arch is the name given to the remains of a Herodian-era monumental staircase carried by an unusually wide stone arch, which once stood at the southwestern corner of the Holy Mount. The arch is named after biblical scholar Edward Robinson, who identified its remnants in 1838. It was built as part of the expansion of the platform initiated by Herod the Great at the end of the 1st century BCE. 2,000 years ago, when this magnificent wall was built, alongside it there was a hive of activity of commercial shops, of pilgrims and people visiting the mount. Robinson's Arch is also found here. When the Romans destroyed the compound, they threw the huge stones down which damaged the pavement. These were found when excavations were done, including the stone mentioning the trumpeting area for the Sabbath, which is now in the Antiquities Museum. The victory of Titus, who destroyed the compound, is seen on an arch found in Rome till this day. Since the annexation and occupation of East Jerusalem, the Western Wall has become a symbol for politics, nationalism, and religious divides. It is a place where you find Orthodox and non-Orthodox women and men compete, and many plans are in place to adapt and change this area to make it more feasible for egalitarian, religious, and nationalistic purposes.